If you use your firearm to stop a threat, you have to make sure and continue to check that the threat has been stopped. Hi everyone, this is John with today's active self-protection lesson out of North Carolina. This is an older incident from 2009, but it shows us an officer of North Carolina who is involved in an incident with a man who has just escaped from a halfway house where he was serving time for a robbery. We're going to learn important lessons here about using verbal judo and about the limitations of your verbal judo. Also about using your firearm effectively to stop the threat and continuing to assess that threat to make sure that it's still stopped. Good bit of backstory on this one in the news in the description, so make sure that you read all that. This one happened in 2009 and the recording quality is not great. It's recorded with a potato, but the audio is very important. So let's listen in on what the officer says and how this goes down, and then we'll come back and learn some lessons.
Let me ask you something. I'll be honest with you. Are you supposed to be in a halfway house or something like that? Okay, you sure about that? Because we're checking on something right now, but it looks like you... Well, like I said, we're working on it. We're making sure. You don't have anything on you, any weapons or anything, do you? Yes, okay, just step over here for me for just a second, please. Okay, just right there in front of the car. No, right there in front of the car. Just lay your little satchel thing right there.
What's this all about?
Well, you might have a warrant on you.
A warrant?
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Don't do what?
Stay still. Mr. Smith.
Go run up on me.
Okay, I'll stay down. That's wrong. No, I'm good.
Roll over, step up, blow your brain.
.331 signal 0. I have been shot at and I have hit the subject. Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
331, I believe. 333.
331. 331.
331, go ahead.
I believe I'm not been hit. I can't tell you for certain. Subject has been hit. Just get me as many as you can here.
Now the threat is lying down, but now you've seen how quickly it came back, but the threat's not completely done, as if you go and watch the original, the officer's still barking commands at him to show him his other hand. Now the guy is down, but he's clearly not out, even though he has been severely wounded and significantly wounded. He still can get a hand in the air like that, and this is what we call a psychological stop. The guy didn't want to fight anymore, and that can be because of pain, not just because of a lack of willingness to fight. Can be because of pain as well, because of injury. He decides it isn't worth it or whatever. Thankfully, the officer is able to continue to communicate here, get some help his way, though it takes several minutes for help to get there, for them to take this guy into custody. And you can see how long these kind of things take, that he has to continue to watch this guy in case he comes back again and is a threat to him. Thankfully, he didn't. Now let's go back and learn some lessons on this one. I just love how this officer used his verbal skills, how he used verbal judo to just talk to this guy. Okay, talk to me about what's going on with you. You know, are you supposed to be in this place? Are you sure? This officer was as kind as the day is long. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, nothing good happens at 4 o'clock in the morning. Find this guy on the roadside, but he gives him every opportunity. Okay, man, let's go ahead and talk about this or whatever. Now, it's interesting that the officer had his flashlight in his right hand there. I think they don't teach that so much anymore. You want to, if possible, to leave the hand that you got to go to your gun open if at all possible. Now, he gives him every opportunity not to, and when the guy backs off him, now he's in this fight. Now, we can't see it on camera, but you did just hear that the guy actually had the drop on the officer, and the officer had to use his verbal skills again and submit and feign submission and compliance until he could get his gun out and get shots on the guy. Now, that was excellent there because he was able to use the skills that he had, but now let's think about this. This guy is down, but this is why we talk about always staying aware. And if, again, as a CCW, getting the heck out of there, as an officer, maintaining your awareness and going to a different place, because this guy jumped back up and shot at him again. So he ran away, went down, badly wounded and shot, and then recovers his composure, comes back up and shoots at the officer again. You have to be ready for a threat to reemerge. Not to say that the officer should have shot him more times when he went down the first time, but be aware, move to another spot where you can see him before he sees you, so that if he pops back up, you can put more shots back on him and make him go back down. That's exactly what happened here, and thankfully the officer did a really good job of doing that. Now we talk about shoot, move, communicate, and that's again exactly what the officer did here. Shot effectively, put the shots where they needed to go, moved so that he was in a better and more advantageous position where he could see better, and then communicated effectively, through his radio to get more help there. As a CCW, this is different than what we would do as CCW holders, because as CCW holders, we won't stay there until more officers show up unless our family is there and we can't leave for some reason. You'd rather get the heck out of there and call the cops and let them come there. In an overall sense, I think we learn here about the limitations of our verbal judo, though it's incredibly important to use. We learn about waiting our turn and, not drawing from the drop until you can get a counter ambush. We didn't get to see it here, but we did get to hear it. And we learn about watching that threat to make sure that it doesn't reemerge and re-engaging it if it does to cover our asp.